That was one of the most epic river dives I think I've had in ages. We've got potentially some of the earliest glass we've ever found, and a host of other cool stuff. It's late August here in Scotland and we're back in one of our favourite rivers. We've actually come into a different shire today because the weather was a bit rubbish in our own shire. And we've been here about 6 times before, and it always brings up amazing treasures from kind of like the early to mid and late 1800s. But strangely, we've always been swimming upstream of a 17th century inn, which is just behind me over there. And then over there is a castle. So we thought we'd explore this stretch of river. We'll probably ingress upstream and kind of float our way down. The water's not really moving much today. In fact, there's a wind that's kind of pushing the river back upstream today, so it should be quite easy conditions. A little bit brown the water, but not too bad. And we've got some fantastic new goggles to try, which are supposed to increase the visibility in murky water. So let's see if they work. Come on in. We're in the river now, there's not much current to speak of, so we're just going to kind of meander our way downstream and keep our eyes on the bottom and see what we find.
The first find of the day is this lead weight shaped like a fish. What you're seeing here is a riverside dump that's been exposed by water erosion, and all the broken glass and bottles have actually fallen into the riverbed. It's a bit of a heartbreaking sight as they're all quite nice kind of mid-1800s bottles, and pretty much 99% of them are smashed apart from really boring champagne bottles. Just coming into view here is some bronze hardware of an old sunken river barge. You can actually make out the engine block here and the spark plugs. Looks like it was some sort of 4-cylinder, maybe a petrol. And if we follow the timbers back, it's quite a long barge. And we find the rudder, still fairly intact, kind of sunken in the sand there. Right next to it is a Sterlini whiskey bottle from Stirling, a handy-sized refreshment for the kind of travelling piss artist. Not far from there, another kind of huge Victorian spill zone full of lots of heartbreaking kind of mid-1800s to late 1800s bottles. I know actually what this one is. We've got a couple of these whole and it's lovely. Shame it's broken. We can see, oh, the ubiquitous champagne survives. Such a sturdy design, but so boring. Another nice kind of mid to late 1800s bottle there, smashed of course. And we find a fragment of the Wigtonshire preserved cream. Haven't actually got a full one of these, so really looking out for one of those. Looks like we may have come across our first bottle here, and it's a lovely turn mould aqua wine bottle. Perhaps not terribly old, maybe more kind of Edwardian period, but it's got some lovely bubbles kind of on the neck there where it was turned and spun, and it's got a little tooled lip at the top. A famous kind of crock pot jar from the riverbed there. We find loads of these, but they're actually really useful around the house and in your workshop to store things like files or kitchen utensils, so we always kind of keep these. Coming across perhaps this is the 5th or 6th of these amazing Glasgow Port Dundas cream pots. It's got this amazing brown glaze, so each one is completely different depending on kind of how the glaze dripped that day, and you can even see it on the base there. We actually found one that was full once and still corked, and I undid the cork and this kind of amazing fountain of Victorian preserved cream burst out, and it was quite disgusting, but not as off as you would have imagined. Then we see the classic shape of a bovril on the riverbed there. Used to find bovrils quite boring, but then this one looks a little bit more interesting, and got it home, cleaned it up, did some research, and it turns out that it's actually quite an early one, so it's quite exciting. Lovely golden amber as well. Something catches our eye down there. It's a kind of huge piece of Victorian tableware, some kind of serving bowl in this sort of classical Greco-Roman style, sadly half broken. And then we come across a curious object. Is it the fabled oil reservoir from a paraffin lamp, where the paraffin would have been stored? And you come across another find. It's a metallic find this time. Looks a lot like perhaps a sort of switch boss, so maybe for a light switch or something like that. And then come across this very chunky piece of glass. Could it be another kind of light adornment, or maybe even a big tray of some sort? And then looks like a very promising find here. It's a nice embossed piece in aqua, and it says J.C. Eno's Effervescing Salt. So this is nothing to do with Brian Eno, but it's actually a Geordie lad by the name of Eno who started a business selling these kind of soothing stomach salt tonics, and they're actually still made today and very popular with people with heartburn. They're kind of got bicarb of soda and something else in them, supposed to quail stomach acid. So is it a quack cure? Maybe not. Maybe it would have actually worked in the day, although it did claim to do lots of other stuff like help your kidneys and probably make you come back from the dead and all that kind of thing. Amazingly, wedged between these two rocks down here is another intact Sterlini whiskey, and absolutely fantastic embossing on these, very nicely struck, very clean and crisp. Probably maybe kind of post 1900s this one, I don't know, maybe it's just confusing me because it looks so clean, but it's by McEwan's, and it's a sort of whiskey blend that was quite popular in the area, obviously around Stirlingshire and beyond. Very portable, carry it in your pocket if you're on the train or the coach or perhaps a steamboat. We're just bobbing our way past the very exciting 17th century inn section of the river, and just on cue the early glass finds are starting to appear. We've got a kind of squat mallet or squat cylinder bottle top here, maybe late 1700s, early 1800s. Then we come across an exciting base, probably from a very similar bottle actually, and this one really caught my eye because it has this kind of swirling, very light green bubbles that have come through the glass as it's being spun by the glassmaker. A real moment sort of captured in time from the period. An incredibly heavy bottle base. I imagine the full bottle must have weighed almost a kilogram. Spot some more early glass under a boulder and have to kind of shift it over and release it, and it's another very exciting base from a sort of squat cylinder, not quite as heavy, a little bit thinner, finer made this one, but still very sturdy. And come across another bottle neck with a top, and that's more along the lines of the kind of early Ricketts bottles, so probably 1820s, 1830s. We'd love to find a whole one of these. It's a really interesting kind of period of glass where it's starting to become a bit more mass manufactured and a bit more kind of clean and repeatable. And then coming across another neck here, it's a wee bit older, so kind of 1790s, maybe up to sort of 1810. Still quite crude, loads of character. Would love to find a whole one of these as well. These, I think, there's absolutely fantastic bottles. And then kind of poking my head out the water here, we roll the boulder back and it reveals something quite astonishing. Just resting there on the riverbank mud and rocks is this incredible kind of early 1700s, maybe even late 1600s. Looks like the neck of perhaps a shaft and globe kind of onion bottle. Something quite finely made. The glass is fairly thin, and it's got a lovely fine string lip, which has been made by the glass blower. And it's an incredible nick. It's I don't know where the rest of it is. It's probably been washed downstream or crushed into atoms at this point. But this is so exciting to find something like this, of this size. We're not sure if this was blown in Scotland or perhaps abroad, or French or Dutch or something. Maybe some early glass experts can let us know at some point. Couldn't help but pick up this very charming, looks like a kind of porcelain grouse. I'm not sure if it would have been a salt shaker or just a kind of ornament. Very nice little piece. And then another early base popping out there, and something very interesting stored within the kick up. It looks like very, very old sawdust. Is it sawdust or sawdust of the day? Some sort of packing, maybe for transport. Maybe this was a bottle that never got drunk, that was kind of in the earth and it's been washed out. So was that 1700s sawdust that we just saw flying away? Starting to gather a nice collection of early glass here, very exciting. Another neck pops up. We think it might be something akin of the same period, but it's actually clear glass, some sort of pouring tableware implement. Come across lots of lovely little baby river fish, which is just sort of hanging around here at the side on the bank where it's nice and safe. We're pulling out something here amongst the cloud, and it is a very, very early neck, probably again early 1700s, so some of the oldest glass we've ever found. Beautiful green, very solid, this one, very thick walls, beautiful wonky lip on there as well, absolutely fantastic. I spot something quite odd. It's a vulcanite entombed within a kind of conglomeration of concrete. Obviously it was some old bottles were getting minced up into maybe an old wall or some kind of shoring up of the riverbank, and tried to get the vulcanite out of the rock, and it's absolutely wedged in there. And we come across a ferrous object here, and on close inspection looks like a taper roller bearing. Not quite sure what that's doing there. Then further downstream we find this amazing kind of retro vintage sign. Is it from an old garage or something like that? It's quite hard to make out.
So, what is inside the basket? The first find we found was this kind of aqua wine, sort of turn mould thing. Not terribly old, but quite nice bubbles. I found this amazing J&C Eno's effervescing fruit salt. Very excited about that. Looks to be in pretty good condition. Nice and wobbly as well. We have the famous Port Dundas cream pot, which is always nice. Really lovely glaze on that one. We've got this really cool little, maybe a pheasant or a grouse sort of table ornament. Sadly de-winged, but very cool anyway. We've got this kind of very interesting sort of pouring vessel of some sort, probably Victorian. It was quite a nice spout. We've got the famous little bovril. Oh, it's even got a number on it. I'll have to look that up later. The bovril. And we found this nestling top security beefy padlock. Oh dear, look at that. Not very secure anymore. It looks like it's sheared. Very interesting. Maybe someone stole something from it. Rusty old thing. Then we've got hiding between some rocks. Looks to be in absolutely unbelievable condition actually, this D&J McEwen & Co. registered Sterlini whiskey. So this is actually a whiskey bottle, not a beer. It looks like beer. Has it got the cork in? Oh, I think it's still got the cork in. Maybe it's got original contents. We'll have to check that when we get back to clean it. And then onto some of the most exciting finds, although they are broken, but wait till you see this. Wow, look at that. Look at that neck. Unbelievable. That is old. That could it be 1600s? I mean, it's in timeline with the inn that it was found outside. Got some other necks here, maybe a bit more early to mid 1800s neck. Nice early base cylinder bottle. Another cylinder bottle base, this time with this amazing kind of galaxy swirl and bubbles. That'll photograph nicely. A bit of a sort of in between this one and this one. Maybe kind of late 1700s, mid to late 1700s, very early 1800s perhaps. Neck there. A very early neck as well. Look at that one. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. Maybe off of a kind of transitional mallet cylinder wine. Another early neck, probably more on the close to the early 1800s. That one. And that's it. That's the haul for today. What do you think, doggy? What do you reckon, Himpy? Pretty good? Do you think it's quite good? Good bottles? Where are the bottles? Where are the Himpy? Where are the bottles? Oh, where are they? Where are they? Where are they? I'm gonna find them.